Hello, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining me from here. As you can see in Chaos Cottage, it's getting on for five, just gone five on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking about optimizing HubSpot pricing. Which is a subject both close to my heart and also complicated and challenging. Years ago, I used to write for Microsoft and did a lot of work for them, and I wrote about pretty much everything they did, except I absolutely promised myself I was never ever going to write about their licensing. And here I am talking about HubSpot licensing. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get right to it. We are Articulate Marketing. I'm founder and CEO. We've done at least 150 HubSpot projects over the years. We do websites, branding, content, thought leadership, AI and automation stuff. We're online at www.articulatemarketing.com. There's the happy team. We are HubSpot experts, been HubSpot partners for a long time, done lots and lots of HubSpot projects. It says 100 here when I was editing this slide. In fact, I did a count a few weeks ago and it's 150. Lots of HubSpot websites. We have 2 HubSpot audited accreditations, which are challenging to say the least to get. They talk to customers, they check your credentials, they make you do projects and things like that. And within the team, there are dozens and dozens of individual HubSpot certifications. We've won 4 HubSpot Impact Awards from them over the years. So we know I know a little bit what I'm talking about. Right. If you would like a portal review from me, no cost, no BS, happy to do that. Email me, matthew@articulatemarketing.com. You can book my calendar, articulatemarketing.com/meet. Happy to do that for people watching this webinar. There are more webinars coming. At the moment, they're not on the site. They're going to be added in over the course of the next week or so. We have weekly webinars through the rest of the quarter on all kinds of exciting marketing-related and HubSpot-related topics. Okay, enough parish notices. Let's get right to the subject at hand. The first thing I want to say about HubSpot pricing is so many people don't actually use what they're paying for. And that seems like a huge oversight, missed opportunity. It's like buying the book and not reading it. I did an analysis this afternoon preparing for this webinar, and the average usage of HubSpot by our client pool, which is in several dozens, is 51%, meaning they're using about 51% of the functionality that's available to them. In some cases, we're not responsible for their use of HubSpot. We do other things for different clients. We might be doing content marketing and they might be running the HubSpot portal. So I hope you don't hear that as a reflection on our ability as a HubSpot consultant. I would suspect across the total population of HubSpot users, it's probably more like 20 to 30%. Interestingly, Marketing Hub was the most widely used, maybe that's our sample pool, and the least well used was Service Hub, the thing that has the knowledge base, tickets, customer support, customer surveys, at around 26%. So, thing number 1, use what you're paying for, right? Type something, we're paying for this stuff, to quote the immortal Ghostbusters. If you're not using it, don't buy it. If you're not going to use it, don't buy it. If you're not using it, don't renew for it. And I think there's an opportunity for quite a lot of these companies to be quite ruthless. I mean, certainly if they're paying for Service Hub and not using it, they should definitely get rid of that. So, point number 1. But then we come to some of the more price-related topics, and it is really easy to overspend on HubSpot, both for companies coming new to HubSpot. HubSpot reps are extremely good at listening for the cues that will allow them to upsell. So you might say something like, my CISO wants single sign-on, and they go, right then, you need one of your hubs at least to be on enterprise, because otherwise you can't have single sign-on. Or we might want to send automated emails out. Right, they say, well, you need transactional emails as an add-on, etc., etc. So they're very good at that. They're trained to do that, and a lot of times they need to, because It would be a mistake for you to buy something expecting it to do something critical and it doesn't deliver. At the same time, they might be telling you something that is nice to have rather than must have. Fundamentally, though, there is a challenge with HubSpot. I remember sitting in a room with 15 marketing agencies and Brian Halligan standing up saying, this is the HubSpot pricing and this is what we charge. It was like 700 quid a month for the top tier thing, and you paid that money and that was it. You didn't have anything else. Now there's hubs, there's tiers, there's credits, there's seats, there's marketing contacts, and there's add-ons. So this is a multi-dimensional game of chess going on with the HubSpot licensing. And the truth of it is it's all designed to get people up that ladder and kind of paying more. And there's a whole interesting world of psychology around having the enterprise pricing in the thousands of pounds a month to make the pro pricing, which is what they want you to buy and what most people end up buying, look reasonably priced at whatever they're charging for that this week. So although pricing starts at free, you can have HubSpot for free if you are willing to accept the functionality limitations that come with that, but it scales very quickly. And it scales also with things like when you add users, when you add marketing contacts, people you want to send marketing emails to. And HubSpot sort of disguises, that's probably, I don't want to, they're a business, they're doing the right thing for their shareholders and their bottom line. So there's no ill intent implied in anything I'm saying. They're just doing what comes naturally, and we're all in business too, and we'd do the same if we could. So they hide perhaps some of the pricing complexity and the nuance, and they make it easier to purchase, and they offer big discounts by saying, if you buy a bundle, if you buy, our CRM suite that has all of our functionality, we can give you this big discount. And I think this accounts for a lot of the underutilization, and quite often it is a better deal if you need this, and this. You get this other hub, data hub, service hub, whatever. It almost effectively becomes three, and you go, oh, okay, all right then, I don't have to worry too much about it. But bundles do hide waste, and they allow people to have somewhat lazy heuristic thinking, and sometimes they allow you to get a much better price. And it's a really interesting thing to interrogate for the things you actually need, whether it's better to cherry pick the hubs or go for a bundle. And the next thing that happens with overspending is when you come up for renewals, because you might get a really good discount going in, and the best prices we've seen, and we've seen some very substantial discounts for fairly large spending new clients coming into HubSpot. But it's the first year, and then the price starts increasing, and they have a very nice way of talking about it at HubSpot when you go into the negotiation for the renewal and you say, our prices are going up, and they say, no, we're just removing the initial discounts. The prices aren't going up, the discounts are going away. Well, yeah, but you're still paying more money. So, HubSpot doesn't have to have this Salesforce level complexity, but it seems to come increasingly with very sophisticated renewal, value engineering and pricing and discount games and inertia and lock-in. So your best time to get a discount is as a new customer, and really pay attention to it then. Probably at the higher end of pro and enterprise tier customers, there is absolutely room for negotiation, for discussion about what hubs you're having, what prices and so on, so that you really optimize the price. And if you're going to be spending more than a couple of £1,000 a month with HubSpot on any kind of new engagement, it will benefit you to have a conversation with somebody like us, pay a couple of £1,000 to get independent advice on it, because you can end up overpaying significantly or not getting kind of the deal that you would like to get. Okay, the worst time for your pricing in your pricing life cycle is on renewals, and bundles need careful handling, can be effective. Okay, so this is don't overspend, be wary of the ramps. Where companies waste the most money in HubSpot, spend money unnecessarily perhaps, they're paying for seats that they don't use. So they've got 20 seats that cost 40, 60, 80 pounds a month, and they've allocated 10 of them, or they bought too many and they downsized, or they didn't allocate them, or something like that. There is sometimes a risk where they over provision, meaning they've given seats to people who don't need them. And that's quite common. You see people sitting there with a sales pro seat and a service pro seat and a data hub pro seat, and actually they're a CEO and all they want to do is look at the dashboard once a month, and you can just email it to them. They don't even need a seat. Buying pro or enterprise features that are never needed, or buying those features because you might need them. Certainly some of the add-ons, we'll talk about some of the add-ons in a minute, but you buy transactional emails because you might want to send emails and you might want to swap from Mailgun or something like that, and you never do, but I'll discuss it now. Marketing contacts is a concept in HubSpot that requires a bit of getting your head around. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know about marketing contacts is fundamentally, if you want to send someone a marketing email, like here's a discount on your next purchase, come to our webinar, you downloaded a report, and then here's the automation that's going to send you the report. Those kinds of emails are marketing emails, and you can only send them to people who are marked as marketing contacts in your HubSpot database. So if they're not, HubSpot literally will not email them. Slight sort of wrinkle to that is non-marketing contacts can be emailed within HubSpot through the CRM, but those emails are being sent via an API integration into Outlook or Google, not from HubSpot. And there's lots of effort people put into sometimes to try and circumvent marketing contact limitations by sending sales emails and sequences and things. But fundamentally, if you want to send a marketing email, they've got to be a marketing contact. And HubSpot charges you for that. Depending on the tier you're on, you get a certain number of marketing contacts included, and after that you're paying incrementally for each 5 or 10,000 increment of marketing contacts. Very easy to buy too many. Oh, well, our current database has got 60,000 contacts, so we'll tell that to the HubSpot rep and he'll sell us 60,000 marketing contacts. But actually, of those 60,000, 20,000 are undeliverable or have unsubscribed. So you actually need 40,000. And again, talking to a consultancy like Articulate can help identify the right number of marketing contacts rather than the number that's currently in your database. Just doing nothing when you're coming up for renewal is a classic way to spend too much money with HubSpot, because they will withdraw the discounts. You'll get this pricing. Over the last few years, people have been switching from flat rate to seat-based pricing. They've been switching from they don't have marketing contacts on their system. It's a new thing that HubSpot brought in a few years ago, and suddenly they're paying for marketing contact, all this sort of stuff. And you just kind of sit there fat, dumb and happy, and your renewal comes around and suddenly you're paying an extra £10,000 a year and you didn't even notice it for the same stuff. And we have seen marketing teams get super excited about HubSpot, as they should be. It's a really powerful, useful piece of software. Or sales teams get excited about HubSpot and they drive the purchase forward, and the business doesn't treat it as a carefully negotiated, reasoned procurement process, like analysis of alternatives, negotiation with the vendor, thinking ahead, and so on and so on and so on. And HubSpot loves it if you rock up and pay the rack rate. Right, absolutely, yeah, great. Oh yeah, and what else can we sell you? I'll get some add-ons here. Yeah, you need 50,000 marketing contacts. Well, you probably need to be on a pro bundle, and you need data hub and service hub. Suddenly you're spending 3,000, and nobody scrutinizes that. That's just the cost of having HubSpot. Well, yeah, okay. So let's get into some of the details and what to do about them. So seat waste, over provisioning seats, is the easiest way to save money. An easiest way to rack up expenses. So HubSpot will, in an initial negotiation, will sell you however many you ask for, fundamentally. And on a renewal, they'll sell you how many you're actually using. And if you have a discussion with them, they'll sell you however many you're using plus however many they think you might need in the next year. In practice, when you add a seat, and you haven't got a seat license for it, HubSpot will say, well, do you want to pay for an extra seat license? And you go, oh yeah, click. Suddenly you're paying 40, 60, 80 pounds a month for that seat, and ratcheting it back, you have to wait for the next renewal. So it's kind of it's one of these sort of one-way upward ratchets that you have to watch out for. So there is a slight risk in under provisioning, but equally, if you buy 10 seats, pro seats from HubSpot, and you hire another salesperson and you absolutely need number 11, HubSpot will sell you that seat. I mean, they're not going to say, no, you bought 10, you can't have 11. They'll sell you that seat. So you're not ever sort of limited, but if you buy 10 seats and you actually need 5, you're paying for 5 you don't need. So we see things like former employees still active in portals with paid seats. This is surprisingly painfully common, and forget about the security implications for it just for a second. It costs money. We see very often senior people in the company not just having a view only seat, which is free in HubSpot, or they have a enterprise sales seat and an enterprise service seat and an enterprise marketing seat, and they're just literally not doing those things in HubSpot. So you only need the seat functionality if you are using it very regularly. And there are usually ways of setting things up to be view only, or setting things up for people who are occasional users or whatever. Also, we had a case recently where a client wanted us to be using their single sign-on mechanism, and that would have meant adding 5 articulate people to their portal with paid marketing seats, and just so that they could have us with single sign-on. And in the end, we explained and discussed and unpacked it a bit, and they relaxed the security restriction so we could use our email accounts. HubSpot partners, like Articulate, their users in HubSpot are free. You don't pay for a marketing agency to come in and use your HubSpot portal. It's a small benefit of working with a HubSpot partner. So we've seen people who are also they've got somebody over here in marketing, and then they give them seats for other parts of the functionality that they don't need. So sort of seat proliferation, or I need this for this thing for this week, and then that seat never gets repatriated. There's also a slight risk that if you have, say, 3 hubs on Pro and 1 hub on Enterprise, the core seat, each new core seat is an Enterprise core seat, which costs quite a lot more money than a core Pro seat. So that's a little bit of a gotcha when you're doing sort of multi-tier packages, right? And there are good reasons to do multi-tier packages. You can often save money by having 1 hub on Enterprise in order to unlock Enterprise tier features like custom objects or SSO. But that's a gotcha that HubSpot gets you on the roundabout with the seat licensing. We even had a case I came across today where a client had the same user with 2 different emails in HubSpot with 2 different HubSpot accounts, both of which had paid seats. So that was an own goal, I think. And that's almost a £900,000 a year cost for the second seat that person's never using. So not nothing. You wouldn't want it coming out of your salary. Okay, so what do you do about it? First of all, audit logins, audit users, do that, schedule it once a quarter, make sure you're on top of that stuff. Look at permissions and roles. This is good housekeeping, good hygiene anyway. And just consolidate and review it. And you really need to be on top of this well before a HubSpot renewal happens in like 3-4 months. Really make sure that you are going into that renewal showing HubSpot that we've got a couple of spare seats here. We want to downgrade, we want to get rid of those. Okay. Next sort of sneaky tax is marketing contact inflation. Now, fundamentally, if you've got 50,000 marketing contacts and you're sending, 150, 200,000 marketing emails a month to 90+% of those marketing contacts, fine, pay the money, use those marketing contacts, right? That's completely fine. You're paying for something where you're getting value. We have seen clients, we have multiple clients over the years with more than 100,000 marketing contacts, so they're paying, thousands of pounds a month to store those contacts, whether they send them emails or not. We had one client who had more than 500,000. I mean, I don't like to think about the bills on that one. And it's a one-way ratchet. So let's say you've paid for 20,000 marketing contacts and you make one more marketing contact, you've got 20,001. HubSpot's going to charge you for another increment of 5,000 or 10,000, depending on the tier you're on. And ratcheting it back, even at renewal, is actually quite hard work. You have to sort of engage in a human conversation and persuade them. And it's not like, oh, we're back under 20,000, right, next month it's going to be less. No, get back under 20,000 next renewal, it might be less if you can persuade them to recognize that, right? It doesn't automatically go back down again. So it can be, marketing contacts can be a bit of a tax on sort of vanity metrics. We've got 50,000 contacts. It can be a bit of a vanity metric, a tax on vanity metrics like indecision and inefficiency. We haven't got time to do it. We didn't get round to it. We didn't sort it out. We didn't notice that we were just about to go over our limit. And we have seen multiple companies where they've got tens of thousands of marketing contacts and 3/4 or more have not had a marketing email in more than a year. So they are paying like real hard cash money to have these marketing contacts, and they're not doing any marketing to them. And this will happen when people migrate an existing CRM into HubSpot, or when they've got synchronizations, or when they've got salespeople adding contacts as marketing contacts. There's quite a lot of process housekeeping you can do to minimize the risk of this. Just on the flip side of that, there is a point, if you do a graph of cost, enterprise tier customers pay less for incremental marketing contacts than pro or starter tier customers. And so there's a point at which you have a certain number of marketing contacts. And even if you don't use any other features of Marketing Hub Enterprise, it's still cheaper to have it because you get the marketing contacts cheaper. It's quite a lot of contacts. Last time I did the calculation, it was something like 80,000. It's probably more now because they've put the prices up. But that's a little wrinkle somewhere. Flip side of all of this is there is a risk of being penny wise and pound foolish. You can pay a consultancy like us or an in-house marketer quite a lot of time and money to manage making some contacts non-marketing contacts, some contacts back into marketing contacts, and building workflows that move them in and out and do this and that and the other, in order to avoid buying another 10,000 marketing contacts. And it's actually just cheaper to pay the money and have the marketing contacts and send emails. And there's also an opportunity cost because you might not be sending emails to people who should be getting them because you're afraid of making them marketing contacts. So it's not unusual, for example, to have a client that has 10,000 or 20,000 marketing contacts and another 50,000 non-marketing sales contacts who could be marketing contacts. And again, there's a debate and a discussion about when to make them marketing contacts and send to them. So I'm not saying never have marketing contacts or get neurotic about it, but don't pay for them if you're not marketing to them. All right, let's move on to some of these add-ons and functionalities and enterprise tier functionalities that are not related to specific enterprise hubs, but they come when you have an enterprise account. And HubSpot has obviously done its homework. They know what kinds of things, for example, chief information security officers ask for, like single sign-on or sandboxes. Typically CTOs will want sandboxes so we can do nice secure testing, try something out and then publish it. People get really interested in advanced reporting, Sankey diagrams, and various event-driven reporting, and that all sounds fantastic. We want to see this. Well, yes, there's always more you can do with reporting, but usually the people who want that stuff haven't got their basic reporting sorted out, and it's just buying extra things they might use. Custom objects is a really interesting thing, incredibly powerful if you use it and you need it. Very easy to sell against. We've got this thing in our business that we want to model in HubSpot, whether it's sort of meeting rooms or referral people or something licensing, anything you've got looks like a business process, or we need a custom object. Again, this is something where a consultancy, a little bit of time and effort and money spent with a consultancy can go, well, actually, there are some other ways of solving that potentially, and we could do it with records in companies, or we use a ticket to capture that information rather than a custom object, and then you don't need to pay for enterprise. So challenge always is clients don't always have enough time, enough HubSpot expertise, enough technical expertise to judge whether the risks are worth paying for or not. And so it's just easier to, just let's renew, let's buy all that stuff that says it's going to do the job we need doing, and then I don't have to worry about it. Whereas if I have to worry about it, maybe we downgrade and everything breaks and blah, blah, blah. Again, there's a sort of near enemy and a far enemy, and the near enemy of this sort of thing is the company that goes, damn it, we're paying too much for HubSpot. Right, I'm paying for Pro. I'm switching to Enterprise, and we've had the few of these over the years where it's been like a ruthlessly driven financial decision. Cut HubSpot. We want to go from Enterprise to Pro. We want to cut that hub out completely. We want to go from Pro to Starter. Had a few of those. And then they come to us and go, this thing stopped working on our website, or we used to be able to do this, or nobody's getting emails from our workflows. Yeah, because you cancelled the feature that had that thing in it, or you cancelled that hub. Oh, sorry. It's worth thinking through the technical risks, right? It's worth, if you are going to downgrade, it's worth having the time to plan that carefully ahead rather than just do it. Typically, when we do a downgrade technical review, it takes half a day sometimes for really complex things, and we can identify the risks, and we can say, well, you've got this workflow that's not going to work anymore, you've got this functionality that's not going to work, but here's how you could replace it, or this is what you do about it. Okay. Add-ons and bundles. HubSpot loves this stuff. This is where they can sell you extra functionality. Not every prospect needs this. Maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 20. I don't know what their add-on rate is, but they're very good at listening out for, we've got different business units. Right, we'll sell you brands, what HubSpot used to call business units, which, by the way, in my experience, never ever deliver the thing that they promise to deliver, which is sort of segregation within one portal. There's better ways of doing it. The functionality may be improving now, but business units, brands. Transactional emails. I really like SendGrid. We use it for Turbine. Some of our clients use SendGrid. There's MailChimp has a transactional email. There are other ways of doing it, and transactional emails to replace that can be quite expensive. You might have a legitimate, valid use case, but I've seen a few people buy this because they've been told they need it and they don't. Data Hub is interesting. It's the latest thing. It used to be called Ops Hub, and they've changed the name and added some functionality, and there's some AI stuff in there, and it's kind of interesting. The Pro price for it's really high in my view, and I think HubSpot are shooting themselves in the foot with that. There are use cases for it and valid requirements. I'm just not seeing it yet. I might be wrong, and I stand ready to be proved wrong. Occasionally people need additional brand domains, but quite often you can get away with spinning up another website on even on a starter, separate HubSpot starter hub, and then embedding forms in it from another hub and things like that. You don't need to pay a huge amount of money to have multiple brand domains in a portal. If any of these things come up and you want some independent advice, let me know. Send me an email, I'll happily talk about it. Okay, cracking on. Gosh, have I been talking for half an hour? Goodness me, I'm nearly done. Thank you for your patience. I've got two and a half more slides. I'll be finished by about 35 past. Goodness me, time flies when you're having opinions. Right, where most companies really get frustrated, angry, and lose out is when it comes to renewals. Okay. Typically, the mistakes they make are starting the negotiation or starting to think about it a few weeks before the renewal. Or even worse, and I've had two companies I know do this in the last couple of years actually, starting the renewal conversation after the renewal has happened, because HubSpot just will default renew you if you let it. And at that point, you're not even talking to a renewal consultant. You're talking to HubSpot's lawyers. They're going, you renewed, you can't change it for a year, forget about it. So not thinking about it in advance is a huge, huge risk. The other risks include accepting the uplift as inevitable, or not benchmarking those prices, not getting some advice about whether that's reasonable. Well, reasonable is not the same as acceptable, but we see very, very wide ranges in the level of discounting offered to HubSpot clients, from virtually nothing to, oh my goodness, how did they get away with that? I wish I had their negotiators, right? I'm not giving you numbers because confidentiality, but we see a wide variety. So fundamental rule is renewal is a procurement event, not an admin task or something to forget about or ignore. It is a moment where careful partner support or careful thought can really mitigate risks on downgrades, can really optimize the negotiation and prepare for that kind of conversation in a very much more constructive, confident way. And for example, we've got a client right now who's going through a renewal. We've been able to secure about £12,000 a year of savings, not by better negotiation, but just by sort of right-sizing their package without any loss of amenity or functionality. In fact, a little bit of functionality was added. And we had given them the same advice in previous years, but nobody listened to us, and they just default renewed and paid and paid and paid. Okay, so how do you optimize your renewal strategy? I just got to say a word of awe, reverence, and respect for HubSpot's renewal consultants. They are the kind of people you might send in to solve Middle East peace, right? I mean, you might send them in to do hostage negotiation. They're, poker-faced, stony-hearted bastards on the whole. I mean, I'm sure they love their children. They put their trousers on one leg at a time. But, on the other side of the conversation, they've heard every argument. They really don't react. You can get angry, you can get upset, you can, plead with them, you can reason with them. It doesn't really matter. Once you are in a negotiation, well, not really in a negotiation, once you're in a conversation with a HubSpot renewal consultant, you've got to remember that they are trained, experienced negotiators who've seen it all before, and whose incentive in life is revenue retention, not customer goodwill, right? They don't care if you're angry. I mean, individually as human beings, they might be a bit upset by it, but they, fundamentally, your pissed offness about paying more money doesn't matter to them, right? What they want to do is have you pay as much money to HubSpot, and they know, and it kind of makes sense the moment you say it, they know that if you are talking to them 3 weeks before your renewal date, your leverage, your threat to I'm going to give up on HubSpot is pretty meaningless, because you're not going to switch to a new CRM in 3 weeks if you haven't started thinking about it 3 months beforehand. So no point trying to get angry with them, no point trying to ask for the good guy discount, no point trying to reason with them, like wrestling with a pig, right? You'll both get covered in shit, but the pig will enjoy it. No, what you've got to do is, one, if you've got a purchasing and procurement negotiating bastard on your side, send them into battle. Man who negotiates for himself negotiates for a fool. But more importantly, be prepared, right? Start at least 3 or 4 months before the renewal date. Really make sure you're on top of your licensing, your usage, you really know what you use, understand what your downgrade options look like, have run the technical risk. If you are serious about it, do a competitive comparison, like what if we moved to this platform or that platform? What if we switched? And by the way, HubSpot people know that you'll get a super discount from a competitor to switch out of HubSpot, because they give super discounts to people to come from Salesforce to HubSpot, or from Pipedrive, or whatever. So have all that worked out, so that if you're negotiating with them, you are negotiating with a BATNA in place, best alternative to negotiated agreement. You know what your parameters are. This is something that Articulate can help with, not so much on the negotiation side. We're not going to negotiate with HubSpot for you, but we can help you think through the technical issues and the migrations and extracting your data and things. And also, if there is any opportunity for you to add, increase, buy more early in the conversation, and you can have a conversation with a salesperson at HubSpot rather than a renewal consultant, you're suddenly talking to someone whose incentive is to sell rather than retain revenue. And just talking to someone who has got a boss in another room who you can go and talk to and go, well, can we just give, this client a little bit more of a discount in order to help me meet my quota or something. The incentive structure is very different when you're talking to sales. So if you're sort of mid-cycle and you're thinking, well, we want to add Service Hub, or we want to upgrade to Enterprise, or we want to add 10 more seats, or 40,000 more marketing contacts, and you've got an upsell conversation, that is the strongest card you can play. Not everyone wants to do it. Most people, when they come to negotiation, badly negotiated on their way and missed the renewals a couple of years, and now they're getting no discount and they're paying for stuff they don't need. That's a harder cat to walk back. If you are going to do a renewal, the best time to do it's December, right? Because it's the end of HubSpot's financial quarter. And generally, if you're buying new from HubSpot, December is the best time to talk to them, right? They are closing the year and they want your business. They are eager for it. Every year we see big discounts being offered. End of quarter, similar principle, but with less intensity. Okay, so there are some strategies. The one last thing I would mention is think about not just the headline price, but what the renewal price is going to be and what the incremental cost of adding extra seats and adding extra contacts is going to be. Negotiate those too, because actually you can do a really good deal for the first year and end up paying through the nose the second year without locking in discounts, locking in prices. And you've also got a bit of leverage with multi-year contracts and a bit of leverage with we'll pay you annually in advance if your cash flow can support it. They will reciprocate that. Okay, so I've got one last slide for you. Thank you so much. Gosh, I have gone on a bit. Here are 4 things you can do this week to optimize your pricing. Go audit your users and seats. Make sure that that's correct. It won't give you an immediate saving, but it will allow you to approach renewals with more confidence. Secondly, go and clean your contacts. Contacts that are undeliverable, contacts you're not marketing to, just make them non-marketing contacts. See how many contacts you actually need rather than how many you're paying for. And again, get yourself set up for renewal nice and early and think that through. Put a diary note in your diary about 4 or 5 months before your renewal date to start thinking about HubSpot renewal. And when you get to that date, take action then. Really invest some time. It's well worth it. You will absolutely do. I can't think of a single customer of ours who we didn't get involved with a renewal review where we started at that sort of time frame where we couldn't save them some money. And lastly, if you're interested, what you've heard from me is plausible, I'm very happy to have a conversation with you with no obligation and no BS. And if we can help with any of these things on a commercial basis, we would be delighted. And indeed, if you have any questions or requirements about HubSpot, happy to talk about it. As you can tell, I've gone 10 minutes over time. I can bore for England about HubSpot. So let's stop it there. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for listening.